back again. Yesterday I came out here and I started working, and Doolittle came out and helped. I was too excited to be working on it. I completely forgot to bring the camera with me. But I only had a couple hours after work, and it was a tough day because I had to figure out angles. I am no mathematician. I am just a regular old gal sitting out here trying to figure this out because I no longer have a contractor. So I have the foggiest idea how to do angles. But I knew I had to cut these boards into angles in order to fit flush against my center, my roof peak right here to the center. So the way I did that for you ladies, and maybe even some of you guys who are not construction savvy but find yourself in the situation I'm in to where you have to do it yourself. What I did was I took a piece of scrap board and I set it into place where I knew it would go. And then I looked at the gap because I set it in there at the angle. And of course it had a flat edge. And the bottom piece touched the edge and the top piece had a gap. So I knew I had to reverse that. Instead of the gap at the top, I knew the gap at the bottom. So in my mind I had to reverse that, and I knew I needed to put that gap down at the bottom. So I just kind of eyeballed it to see, about how much gap it was. And then I went to my saw and I played with the little angle setting until I figured out, I guessed what the angle would be. My first guess was 15 degrees. So I cut it at 15 degrees and I brought it over here, and whoa, that was way too much. So I took the board back and I put it at 10 degrees, came back and I tested it, and it was close but not exact. So I went back and I cut it again at a 9-degree angle, and again I brought it back, I set it up here, and it fit flush against the board where I wanted it to, and it rested exactly perfect. So I went back and I cut all these boards at 42 inches, and then I put a 9-degree angle at the top of the board that goes to the center of the roof. I needed 9 of those, so I did those, got them all in place. That left me, I was off just a hair. I'm not sure it was necessarily all me, because all my boards are exactly the same. I've checked, I've double checked, I've checked my structure, everything's the same. The only thing I can think of is my center board is a little bit warped. But we are close enough. I wanted a 10-inch overhang, and on that side I have a 10 1/16 angle overhang, which is fine, that's close enough for me. And then here in the middle I got 10 1/8, and then right here I had 10 1/4. So I'm within 1/4 of an inch all the way across. I'm okay with that. So after I got these done, I tested one on the other side, and my angle was off. It didn't need a 9-degree angle, so I had to toy with it until I got the right angle. On that side of the roof, we have a 6-degree angle, and I had to shorten my boards by a 1/2 inch. I cut them at 41.5 instead of 42, and when I put my test board up, I had my 6-degree angle, and I measured it, and I had my 10-inch overhang. So I cut the boards a 1/2 inch shorter, which, we're within a 1/4 inch here. So really, I only had to adjust it a 1/4 of an inch. So we did that, and I have all 9 pieces. So what I'm doing now is this is my angle. This is where it goes on the roof, or we're on that side. It actually goes this way. I'm putting a screw on the bottom to hold this up, and you want this part flush with the top of your 2x8 up there. And then I have 2 pre-drilled screws at the top. That way I can put this in, drill that down. That will hold my top. This part's just going to rest on this 2x4 that's on that side. So once this is into place, then I just put this back on center. I went through what I'm doing on the spacing is those cages are 18 inches, and I went and I measured them just to make sure. And they are true. Every single divider between the cages are at 18 inches. It was 18, 36, 54, and so on. So what I did was I come back and I found center here, and then off center I went 18 inches. And then the last board doesn't matter. It's a little more than 18 inches. This board and the end board, they're a little over 18 inches, and that doesn't matter because the ends of my cages are going to hang from this inside board right here. So I don't need that extra support here. Now at each of these rafters, I'm going to use plumber's tape that's going to come down, loop through the cage, and come back up. On that pipe that runs through the cage, it's going to loop through there, and it's going to fasten back up to the rafter. That way we have extra support every 18 inches on the cage. Not just the pipes on the 4 points, 2 pipes, 2 sides, 4 points. We're distributing that weight every 18 inches on these rafters. And you'll know and understand that a little more better when we get to that point and you see what I'm doing. So I measured, I found center on this board and my roof board, and then I put these, measured off 18 inches on both sides from center and marked where my rafters go. And then I did the same thing on the opposite side. And so far they look true. I hope. They look it. So hopefully my math is okay in that area. If not, I may be making some changes later. I don't know. But right now it looks good. So anyway, I caught you up with what I'm doing, and I can go through and show you with the camera how they're put together, what it looks like, and then I'm going to go ahead and finish the other side of this. One screw here, 2 screws there. This is the peak of the roof right here. And we come down, and then I angled a screw here, and then I angled another screw down here. So we have 1 screw on each side. It keeps this from moving either direction. And I did that with all of them. Now you can see here I have center, and then I marked off 18 inches the rest of the way. Sits on top of that, just like that. These sit on top, and then they're flush with the roof peak. Then we'll come over and we'll do the same thing on this side. Alright, I'm still working on my roof rafters. I'm over half done. This side's done, and I'm right at halfway on this side, so I'm getting there. Now, here's one of my rafter boards, and this is the angled end. This is the high end. This is the low end. I'm going to put the low end up for now. I'm slightly handicapped today and I'm by myself, so I'm making this as easy as I can. So I'm pre-drilling my screws, and I'm putting one on the bottom or the underside and two on the top, and that will go here. So I'm going to go ahead and put these screws in, and I'm putting this in at an angle just so that the tip of the screw will come even to the edge of the board, but not through the board, because I want that to sit flush against my peak board. Now I'm going to flip this over, put this high end on top, and I'm going to put two screws. Alright, so I got this end ready to go. We're going to put it right here where I have center marked. Alright. Now I'm also going to eyeball this and make sure it's in line with the opposite side over here. And it appears to be pretty close. I don't want that to fall on my head. Okay, I'm having a hard time reaching up high today, so I have to get me an equalizer. Okay, so that's screwed in, and that's going to hold my board in place. So now I can screw it down from the top. We got it done. Alright, now we're going to do this one. And what I'm doing on these is I'm actually putting them at angles like this. One on each side of the board. Drill it down to make it stay. Now, I have this marked, and I have it, but I'm going to eyeball it to make sure again it's in line with the opposite side. That is good enough for me. I have it marked here. It looks centered. Now if you want to double check it for accuracy, you can take your tape measure and measure from the center of this board to the center of that board. Should be exactly 18 inches. Bingo, exactly 18 inches. Alright, so that's how I'm putting these in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 4 more to do. Alright, well we have all the rafters in place. They're not perfect, but you know, I'm not a constructor. I'm a rabbit breeder, and this is the best that this rabbit breeder can do. But overall, I think it looks pretty nice, and I've double checked all my math, and all my numbers are falling exactly where I planned for them to fall. So I guess that's about as good as it can get. It's probably not perfectly square, probably not perfectly level, but for a rabbit breeder and for these rabbits, I bet it's good enough for them. I bet they're not going to mind if it's off a hair here and there. But anyway, we've got the rafters on, and I think it's looking pretty good, if I do say so myself. So this is what the structure looks like. Now I did repurpose my 4 corner posts, so they're not as pretty as the roof line, but they're still in good shape and solid. So now it is time to start putting the roof decking. So I'm going to take some measurements and find out. We're going to start here and work that way. I think I'm going to need 4 pieces of plywood, and I'm using that cheap plywood because we actually had it on hand, so I didn't have to go buy anything. So anyway, we're going to go ahead, get these measurements for this side, and get our first decking laid out.